You know, you get all of the comments like, oh, cut the cord. Oh, let them live their life. Oh, they're grown adults now. Well, okay, 18 technically is a grown adult, but they're still your children.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. My name is Reesa and I'm your host. We are talking to real families about real stories here on The Real Family Eats, where we've got food for thought and thoughtful food. So let's eat. Hey everyone, my guest today is the lovely Dommie. Hi Dommie, thank you so much for being a guest on the show today.
Yes, so exciting, so much fun. I'm really excited. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so excited to chat with you about your story. But before we do that, for anyone who doesn't know you like I know, can you introduce yourself for us?
Absolutely. So my name is Dommie. I am I'm a wife of almost 31 years this year.
Wow, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. I have two grown sons who have two beautiful wives, who each one has one beautiful baby.
Okay.
I'm a grandma to a beautiful 2-year-old boy and a 2-month-old baby girl. So that's been really fun for me because I'm a boy mom.
Okay.
I am a boy mom. So that little girl has rocked my world a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's see, my past history was mostly critical care nursing.
Okay.
I left that about 4 years ago. It wasn't really aligning with me anymore, and have went into the holistic coaching aspect of nursing, supporting women in life transitions, and just trying to live a fun and filled life with family and friends.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so now's our shameless plug section. So tell us, for anybody who needs your services, some of that coaching that you mentioned, can you tell us a little bit more about the services that you offer, as well as how people can find you?
Yes. So like I said, it's mostly based around lifestyle transitioning. I love to coach women going through any type of lifestyle transition. My website is northcoveco.com, so they can find me on there, a little bit more information. Perfect. But I do one-to-one, I do group coaching, and I am very in love with frequency healing and energy work. So I do incorporate a lot of frequencies into my one-on-one coaching.
Okay.
I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. I'm not that active on there, but people can get a hold of me on there also, usually under Dommie Shaun.
Wonderful. And we'll make sure to have all of those links in our show notes as normal. Okay, so tell me what recipe you're sharing with us today, and why did you choose this one?
So let's see. This is mac and cheese,
okay,
with some ham in there.
Yes.
And it has been pretty much a staple. I think even as I was younger, my mom used to make it.
Really?
And it's pretty much the only recipe that I could walk through and not have to measure. And it's just an eye and a feel, and I don't have to think about it. Okay. So I don't have to look at a recipe. There's a lot of funny stories about the mac and cheese because, of course, my kids love it. They make it. My nieces have made it. You know,
really? There's
stories when my niece was young. She went home and was like, "Mom, Aunt Dommie made mac and cheese, and it wasn't from a box." So there's just a lot of fun stories about it. I have a really fun story with my youngest son when he was in college. He made it at college, but I have always cooked the mac and cheese in a Pampered Chef clay pot.
Okay.
So when he went to college to make it the first time, he thought that it had to be made in a Pampered Chef clay pot, and was so confused that when he went to every dorm room that nobody had it, so he didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So just a lot of fun memories with it, and that's why I chose it.
Well, I love it, and I love that you're willing to kind of share that so other families can start making their own memories.
Easy.
I love it. Easy. And that's kind of what we need, right? As parents. I mean, the amount of stuff that's on our plate to do, I absolutely love the idea of an easy thing that you can put together. And you know, it's got your protein in there, I'm seeing. You know, you've got a little bit of everything as far as, we want to get creative.
It's some comfort food. Yeah, it's definitely some comfort food. I mean, easy and and quick is my kind of thing. You know, I think when I even graduated nursing school, like we had a bunch of family and friends over and I was like, thank you to my crock pot, because otherwise I would have never figured it out. You know, I'd never figured out how to do all of it between all the activities of the kids. So yeah, I'm very much an easy, quick cooker.
Awesome. Okay. So tell me what the steps are, what I'm going to be doing, and I'll get started while we chat.
Okay. So really what I start off doing is just cooking the large elbow macaroni.
Okay. I've got my cooked macaroni here. So we got it in there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
With that, after the macaroni's cooked, I just kind of whip up the eggs a little bit.
Okay.
Put that in there, kind of blend that through. I pour in some heavy whipping cream.
Okay.
And then salt and pepper it up. Sometimes I'll just throw the ham in there. It just makes it a little bit easier.
Okay.
Stir it all up, and then I'll just start layering. So layer of noodles, that's all coated with everything, and then layer of cheese, layer of noodles, layer of cheese. And then I pop it in the oven, and there you go.
Wonderful.
The longest part is shredding the cheese.
Yeah.
And cooking the noodles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. And so once it goes into the oven, how long, how hot, how long?
I have a convection oven, so I know that's a little bit different, but I usually would say 350 for about 45, 50 minutes. I usually cover the top of it just to make sure it's all bubbly, and then take it off, because then the top is really crispy.
Ooh,
and
love it.
That's usually the part where we're all fighting, is the top pieces. And I have to tell them, eat the bottom too.
Yeah.
Or I'll put it back in and get some more top pieces if there's leftovers, because there's usually always leftovers.
That's awesome. Well, I can do that. So while I'm cooking, though, I know one of the things I was so excited that you're willing to chat about is some of the leader portions of parenting when it comes to kind of empty nesting and some of that journey. So can you tell me a little bit more about kind of what was your experience as far as navigating those kiddos kind of leaving the nest? I mean, that I'm not there yet, but gosh, that sounds so overwhelming and scary already.
Yeah. It was a transition. And I don't think people really look at the emptiness as a transition.
Okay.
You know, you get all of the comments like, oh, cut the cord. Oh, let them live their life. Oh, they're grown adults now. Well, okay, 18 technically is a grown adult, but they're still your children.
Yeah.
They never stop being your children. So I think with me, it was difficult, but I think I always looked at it like, okay, this is going to happen, but you can never really fully prepare yourself for it.
Okay.
I think that when the time came for my oldest son to go to college, you know, we looked all over, we did all the college things, all the tours, and he ended up about an hour and a half away from home.
Okay.
Which was also another statement, you know, oh, he's only an hour and a half away. He's not that far. You'll be fine.
Statements that you were getting from other people?
From other people.
Really?
Yeah. So there's not really a lot. I mean, I think in their world, they were thinking they were being supportive. Well, I know he's only an hour and a half away, but the thing is that his head's not on the pillow that it's been on for the last, well, at that point we had lived in our house for 17 years, or about 15 years.
Okay.
But I couldn't just walk down and see that he was sleeping, or, you know, or see his face.
Yeah.
So those comments were always very difficult for me. But I think the hard part was my husband and I were so active in their worlds. We were so active in their sports. You know, our house was always filled with the teammates. We were always cooking meals with the teams. There was just a lot that we were always doing, not to mention, you know, family dinners, vacations, and now we had to go around a whole different type of schedule.
So going from really just seeing them being involved in their world, knowing their world kind of firsthand to, hey, here you go.
Here you go. Yeah.
Wow.
And so many people think that it's like, here you go. Well, it's really not. There's a lot of stuff that goes on that they can't fully grasp, or they don't really know how to handle it. So, you know, helping them is one thing. I'm always a big believer in helping. I guess my kids tell me, you're really good at asking the questions, but not giving the answers, because I want them to work through it, which is hard.
Yes.
Really difficult to do, because really you just want to fix everything. And I think at the very beginning of my empty nest, I was in the fix it mode. So it took me some time to kind of get into the no, let me coach them to figuring these things out themselves.
Why, can you talk more about why that was so important to you, as far as not just kind of giving them answers and really, it sounds like helping them generate maybe their own thoughts and their own kind of ideas even.
I think it was important to me because I realized, I don't even know when I realized this moment, that I was harming them more than I was helping them. You know, I don't want them to solve problems the way I solve problems. I want them to solve problems the way that they see fit, the way that's true to them and their thoughts. I gave them the tools, and I needed to trust that what my husband and I had taught them, that they were able to pull out and use. So that's kind of where I tried to lead. You know, of course, you lead by example, or you tell them stories, or but I didn't want to give them the answers. I wanted them to find their own answers, because their life isn't my life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So just because I see something one way doesn't mean that it's going to fit for them. And my boys are completely different people.
Yes.
Completely different. So when my youngest left for college, it was a complete different experience than when my oldest left for college. So I can't dictate how each of them live in certain areas. So, yeah.
Have you seen that come out now, kind of, if you were to look back, of the ways that you've seen those skills kind of flourish and really be an asset? Because I think that's such a valuable mindset shift almost, to be able to say, hey, you're your own person. You know, I can give you maybe some tools, and I can give you maybe some, you know, general basic outlines, but hey, I want you to fill it in. And it's really important for you to fill it in the way that you see fit.
Absolutely. I think if I look back, you know, I wish that I would have had that mindset many, many years ago. But, you know, I had Tanner at 22, 23 years old. That's a hard mindset to have at 22, 23 years old.
Absolutely.
Right? So of course I think, oh, if I was a little older when I had them, maybe things would be a little different. But then again, I think things are just the way they're supposed to be. They're just right where they're supposed to. Of course there's regrets. I think with my first child, very structured, very strict. So I think it was a little bit more of, wait a minute, we're going to put the noodles in here first.
Oh, I apologize.
Is this what you're baking?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's
so not in here?
No, let's not put it in there.
Oh,
but you put some cream in there, right?
I did.
That's fine. It's absolutely fine to take the cheese out or whatever you want to do. But then we just kind of layer it in here. You can put the ham in there though.
I can do
and you sprinkled with salt and pepper.
I apologize.
No, it's fine. You're just good.
Okay.
So anyways, like you said, tools.
Yeah.
My goal was to give my boys a very big toolbox and hope that they choose to use it.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's what the emptiness is about too. You know, you transition into this whole different quiet world where your home isn't busy and crazy. And you think, what am I doing now? I mean, of course, I had a job. Of course, we stayed really active because our boys were college athletes. So we tried to make all of their meets and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And most importantly, you know, you try and keep that relationship with your husband and your spouse, because if you don't have that, what do you have? You know?
Can you say more about that?
So I think me coming from a divorced world.
Okay.
And I also think me coming from a world where I had always heard, oh, usually parents are divorcing when the kids leave home. They stay together for the kids, all that stuff. It was something that I was like, oh, I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do that. My husband and I fought for our marriage when our kids were younger. Wasn't sure if we would make it through, but we did. And I'm like, I'm not going to fight that hard back then. And now let it go. So I think building up to that, Chris and I were very much, we have to put our marriage first. We love our kids, but we have to put our marriage first because they're freaking leaving us. You know? They're going to leave us.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think that's such great insight now, like when you're on the other side of it, because you're absolutely right. Sometimes when you're in the thick of it, you're just like, oh, I just got to survive. We just got to do these kids. We'll deal with us later. We don't have time for it.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, the goal is you're raising these little humans so that they can leave you.
Yeah.
And then you are left with just, hey,
what are we doing tonight? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a very big goal of mine, I think, from the very beginning. So we always did like vacations together and then a vacation with the kids. And so we tried to keep that going. I mean, was it always perfect? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Was it still a transition for him and I as a couple to not have the commotion and the busyness?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
wow,
it was a lot easier since we did make that goal in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so as you're kind of broaching this, as you mentioned, this big life change for you folks, can you walk me through kind of what was all these people are trying to, it sounds like, give you, words to try to comfort you, but it sounds like perhaps maybe not landing quite in the way that they were intending. And so I'm very curious, like for you, what was your like thought process? What was going on for you in those moments?
I think for me, it was more so keeping true to myself.
Okay.
Knowing that the boys were gone and doing what they were meant to be doing was very good for my soul, while at the same time, there was an emptiness and a loneliness. And yeah, I was still their mom, but they didn't need me every day like they did. So it was very, I kind of equate it to, you can turn that off. Is it still cooking?
Oh, it's off. Yeah, it's just.
I kind of equate it, it's kind of a loss, it's a loss of a role.
Yes.
And then you can also think of it as a transition of a role. You're coming from supporting your children every single day to, let me support them when they truly need it, or when they call and need something, or let me just support them and say hurrah because they're doing a heck of a job on their own.
Yeah.
So it kind of, your loss kind of grows into a whole transformation of parenting young children to parenting young adult children. And that's not always easy. It's a lot of sitting on your hands and a lot of biting your tongue and a lot of, oh my gosh, what's happening and what's going on and what are they doing?
Was that grief that you mentioned, did that catch you by surprise?
I don't think it caught me by surprise.
Really?
No. I think I knew that I was going to have a hard time because I had been such an on-hands mom.
Yeah.
And I'm a very emotional, empathetic person when it comes to that. Very sensitive.
Okay.
Maybe I was surprised a little bit at how long it lasted. Or how frustrated I would get when people would try and fix it for me. Because there was no fixing it for me.
Like, what were things that were attempts to fix it? Like, what did that look like for you?
It was just a lot of discussion, and a lot of, oh, you're fine, let's do it this way, or, oh, they're fine, they're out doing what they're supposed to do, which, is great to have supportive people in your life.
Yeah.
But their journey wasn't my journey.
Yeah. I think that's it's
a huge point.
Yeah.
Because no empty nest life is the same journey, just like no marriage is the same journey. It's really what you do. Like when my boys left, I was still working in the ICU. So that kept me busy.
Yeah.
I felt like I left a full-time job as their parent, but also as their booster parent and that kind of thing. So I felt like I had a little bit of extra time on my hands.
Okay.
So that part was a little bit difficult. But that gave us time to go and visit when we could and go to their meets and that kind of thing. So I think my husband and I stayed really active. I don't like the word busy, but we stayed very active.
Even after they left the nest?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we still stayed supportive. And I think the part that, we were able to, fortunate enough to go and visit them and go to their meets and that kind of stuff helped the transition in.
Okay.
And seeing the people that supported them when we weren't there was always very beneficial, because they go out and they find a different world, to support them. which is good no matter where they go. If they go to college or they don't, when they go out on their own, they have their own world, their own set of friends. And no matter what, at that time, our friends are a little bit of everything, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Because I heard you mention kind of going back to, other people's journeys may not have been yours in that moment. So for any listeners who are listening and maybe wanting to support someone who is going through that life transition of empty nesting, what were things that you wish you had more of, or that you did receive? You were like, oh gosh, that really does hit as the support that I needed.
Yeah. I think in any type of relationship or support system, it's being able to listen and not turning it around to yourself.
Okay.
So if somebody's really struggling and they want some support and they want somebody to listen to them, 9 times out of 10, they don't want you to tell them your story and how you fixed your story.
Okay.
I felt I just wanted somebody to listen to my story.
Yes.
And say, oh, I feel you, Dommie. I feel you. Which, did I have that? Yes, I did. I was fortunate enough to have friends that felt that way for me and family. But it was the times where I said, oh, this happened today. And they're like, oh, wait, that happened to me every time. And this is what I did. Well, I just need you to hear what I'm going through today.
Yeah.
So
it sounds like almost kind of immediately going into like problem solving, like you said, kind of that fix it.
Yeah. Like if I'm not asking you to fix it, please don't try and fix it.
Yeah. I'm
just asking you to listen.
So. Yeah. So, I mean, and one of the things that, and I love that you said that, is one of my many missions, because I have many, is to have kind of more of that normalized of really, going to that person and saying, how can I best support you? So that it really does give a better opportunity for it to land in the way that
for sure
they need it, versus, like you said, maybe, oh, well, this helped for me. Okay, well, I don't necessarily view everything, or my life, there's different components here.
I'm not walking your path.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so, and it sounds like in that for you, it's just listen. Like, I would just love some validation, some normalizing, some empathy. Like,
just give me a hug. Like, just hug me.
Absolutely.
And some people are like, no way, don't touch me. So that's just,
that's a great point. Yeah. And that's okay, right? That we all kind of have,
for sure,
what works best for us, and being able to kind of respect that those differences make us really unique and
who we are.
Yes. Kind of back again to what you were talking about with your kiddos, of being able to respect them, that like they're their own person, and giving them the autonomy to figure stuff out and what it looks like for them.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm so curious then, as you've been kind of navigating, is there moments for you that you are even maybe currently going through and looking at it and saying, gosh, this was a really big challenge I had to overcome, and how, if you did, kind of how you were able to work through that, or things that were helpful for you?
Oh yeah, there's been many. So
yeah.
Yeah, really. I mean, my boys are grown. They're 29 and 26, and they both got married in 2021. They got married 3 months apart, which I just wanted to punch them both in the face for that.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so stressful.
Like, give me some time, but that was their path. That's how it landed for them. So yes, not only being the boy mom and going through a transition of inviting this other beautiful woman into your family, and not taking your place, but taking your place is also another form of transition.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is fun. Like, great, we're getting married and this is wonderful. And I'm so excited and happy for you. But at the same time, let me find my spot again. Let me see where I am again. And that was, I would always get so frustrated when people would tell me that whole, a daughter's a daughter for life, a son's a son till he takes a wife or whatever. And I would just get so angry because here I am with 2 boys.
Right.
And I feel like Chris and I raised this family to say we are always a unit. Like no matter what, we will always be a unit. But then having that, there's another unit there.
Yeah.
And how is this going to work out? And how are we going to fit into this? You know? And it wasn't always pretty for me. Like, I don't think there are moments I think back and I think, I could have handled that better. But overall, I think they know that I love them. I love their choice. I love their lives. I love the way that they work their goals. So,
yeah,
you know, you work through it.
Is there something specific, like an aha moment for you or something that you were able to kind of find that role? Because I imagine, and, you know, I too have 2 boys. So I'm hearing these things. I'm like, oh my goodness, what does my future look like? You know, and I would love to kind of hear your thoughts of how did you kind of make that transition and work through, it sounds like, you know, even yet again, another grieving point of that role and that shift of being mom, you know, and kind of the person they go to.
I think it was very fortunate for me. In 2020, I had signed up for a nurse coaching course. I didn't really know what the course was about, but I knew that critical care it wasn't working for me anymore. I just didn't feel like I was doing what I needed to be doing. So I remember telling my husband, like, I'm going to sign up for this 6-month course. It's really kumbaya. I don't know what it's about, but I'm just going to do it. So I did. And that was in January. And it was all about self-reflection, basically, and all about lifestyle choices. And it was a lot of soul searching, which in general, you know, once I had started it, then came the big C word and, you know, all the chaos in the ICU, which also I think helped me get through that. But I'm grateful for that because I think my aha moments were, Dommie, this can either go really, really good or you can make this really, really bad. It's your choice. You know, and I would tell that to my boys. I remember telling them before, like junior high and high school, we can have a great experience here together or we can have a really crappy one. It's your choice. You choose to make this what it is. So it's remembering what I told them and pretty much hammering it into myself.
Coaching yourself through it too, it sounds like.
Pretty much. And saying, you know, you can make this a joyous event or not. And of course, I wanted it to be the best time for all of us, even though it was really difficult with both of them within that 3 months time, you know, but beautiful at the same time, you know? So that's kind of where it is, you know?
Is there specific like supports? I heard you mention kind of that coaching course that you took. Is there anything else that for you was super helpful support wise or resource wise that, you know, anybody else who might be kind of going through it could reach out or find similar support?
I think for me at that time, it was just a lot of my own soul searching, you know, and those are kind of the types of things that I love to coach women through now too. Like I've been there, I've done that. My story is not going to look like your story, but let's make it your story. So I think that that's pretty much turning it around too, because you're building this new relationship with your children and their wives or their spouses, but at the same time, you're building a different relationship with yourself. So I think that that's a key component in all of these transitions is figuring out who you want to be, where you want to be, when you want to be it. And how you want to make that happen. So
are there like, you know, maybe key questions to really prompt that soul searching that you found really valuable?
You know, there were books that I've read. There was a book that I read about, there was a Moms of Sons books. You know, I just searched for things. I wish I could think of some of the books right now. I have them at home in my office, but I can't really think of them. But I did a lot of reading. I really did. I did a lot of journaling. My prompting, I did a lot of gratitude journaling is what I chose to do. And that was helpful. And let's see, what else? I think it was just more of, so how do you want this relationship to go? And it's not always easy. I think I'm fortunate. The women that they chose to bring in are beautiful women who love our family and who are caring and thoughtful and who love my boys. And is that always the case? No, it's not always the case. But I think that you have to walk in the steps and ask yourself how I want to handle this.
Yeah. And it sounds like really for you, and correct me if I'm wrong, kind of, it sounds like also going back and figuring out kind of that value center and being able to kind of go from there, like you said, of how do I want to show up, and potentially even, is it in alignment with those things that are really at my core of the things that I value, that
for sure
have worth, so that I can be really, it sounds like content with that decision. Because I think what you mentioned there, remembering that although there may be times where we feel like we don't have a choice, that there's usually some choice. And sometimes the choice is I can choose to kind of sit and be like, well, I have no choice, or I can choose to kind of do the research. Even if I don't know what the answer is, let me go out and let me ask other people or read books or read materials that might be able to shine some light into some of those answers.
And usually if we dig deep and we break through our own barriers and our own hurt feelings or our own insecurities, we usually find the answers within.
Yeah.
But it usually takes a little bit of work.
And perhaps even like a willingness to get vulnerable and honest with yourself. It sounds like.
Yeah. Vulnerability is usually a bad word for so many people, right?
Yeah.
But I find that vulnerability is so beautiful and so opening and makes things just so much clearer for you.
And scary too.
Scary. The path is a little rocky, but it's a path.
Yeah, that's true. Versus feeling like there is no path.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Wow, I love that. So if you were to kind of, rewind, the question I love to ask is, if you had access to a DeLorean and you could go back and kind of give yourself, some words of wisdom to be able to kind of have some of that knowledge going into it, is there anything that you would tell yourself or that you would tell others kind of in the midst of it?
I think I would tell myself to just breathe and believe in what I built and what my husband built, and believe in my children.
Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds so simple, but yet so incredibly difficult. To kind of, I feel like so many people, we have this idea of that control in some way, shape, or form, and to kind of believe in others takes a degree of taking those hands up and saying, okay, I hope everything's on the track. And hope that it goes.
Yeah, because it doesn't mean you let go.
Yeah.
It just means that you release a little bit.
I like that reframe.
Yeah.
That instead of a letting go of just, like you said, here, okay, go out into the world, bye.
Yeah.
That it's a release. It's maybe getting creative of what, like you said, that new role looks like. And having the flexibility to be able to say, okay.
I mean, no matter what, I think our children always need us. There's always something, and we always need them, right? So I think if you build that relationship and you remember they're human beings, they're adults, they're their own person, the relationship can just be so much better.
Yeah. I think that's so beautiful, that idea of that building the relationship and taking that stance as the parent versus like, oh, they're my kids, they'll always be there. I don't really need to build anything. I don't need to do the work because that's just expected.
Well, every relationship takes work,
yeah.
Right? I think back and I look, and when they were going through high school, it was, oh, the last cross country meet, oh, the last leadership event, or everything was the last. Until I started thinking about it, well, wait, this is the first of, like, this is the beginning of.
Yeah.
So maybe I would tell myself that too. Like, don't look at everything as the last. Think of it as the new beginning, the next chapter.
Yes.
Because the last seems so negative, right?
Absolutely. And so like the final.
Yes. And the new beginning is just whoo, here we go. Let's go. Strap on the boots and let's keep running.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably another tip I would give myself.
I love that. And it's such a great reminder, again, and another choice that you get to make of whether or not you're open and willing to reframe in that way of saying, you know what, it's maybe the last of this chapter, but gosh, we have so much more of the book left over.
So much more to go. It doesn't stop. I remember thinking when my boys were little, like, oh, when they're 18, they'll just be on their own and they'll just be living their own life. And I don't know. And I'm like, oh no, they never stop being your children.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Even when they have their own, they still don't stop.
Yeah. I mean, have you gotten those calls of like, I don't know what to do, help?
Oh yes, for sure. Yes. So, and they're fun. There's fun conversations. They're just fun because, they're coming into this realization of like, oh my gosh, I have this little human and I don't really know what to do with him. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't know what to do with you either, dude. But we survived.
And
so,
right. And I think that's just, again, the overall theme is when we enter into this journey of parenting, we don't get a manual.
No.
We don't get someone who goes, okay, here's your instruction manual for this particular model.
Yes. Because they're all different models.
Exactly.
Night and day models, for sure.
And the manual that works for one doesn't always work for the other. And so it doesn't work that way. And as much as, we wish it would, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know any parent that'd be like, oh, I don't want a manual. No. And so to kind of be able to then see them also experiencing,
it's fun. It's fun.
It's a journey.
Yeah. It is a whole different world. Yes. Lots of fun.
That's so neat. Well, gosh. Okay. So I'm so excited. So we'll put this in the oven, get it nice and bubbly. And I'm excited to have this yummy mac and cheese. My boys love mac and cheese, and I've never tried it this way, so I'm excited.
Perfect. I'm excited for you. It's just a nice little bake. Literally, my kids sometimes put ketchup on it, which I want to shoot them for that. I personally like to have cold peeled tomatoes with it. So I guess it's kind of the same.
Yeah, just a different version.
Yeah, just a different version. So that's always a good little side for it. Or of course a salad or whatever.
Yeah.
Or absolutely nothing. Just put it on the table and here you go.
There you go.
Yes. Yes.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for being willing to share not only this recipe, but your journey and chat with me the real side of kind of some of those struggles with empty nesting. I really do appreciate you. And I think that such valuable information you've been able to offer from your journey and kind of pay it forward. So
well, thank you. I loved it. So much fun. And yes, love to share. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time. If you or anyone that you know is struggling with any of the topics that we discussed in today's episode, make sure to check out our show notes for support and resources. You can get help. Thanks again for joining us on today's episode of The Real Family Eats. If you're a parent ready to share your real life parenting story, make sure to reach out to us in our website found in the show notes. And that goes for today's recipe, social medias, support, and resources. All of that can be found in our show notes. So make sure to check them out. And make sure to follow, like, share, subscribe, and stay up to date on all things The Real Family Eats. I hope you'll join us next time for more food for thought and thoughtful food. Enjoy your eats.